This will be a continuation of a verse-by-verse study through the general epistle of James. Last video, I went 5 through 8 from a practical point of view rather than doctrinal point of view. So we're going to look at it a doctrinal point of view on this one. I have my good old trusty kombucha. You know, it's raw kombucha. It's got some mushrooms in here. My son told me about a fella who his first 2 wives died from poison mushrooms. And the third wife died from a cracked skull because she wouldn't eat her mushrooms. Well, I came out today driving up to Lowell, and this is what we got to look at driving up to Lowell. And that's a nice thing. Love that. Love driving like this. This was pretty easy, to be kind of honest with you. One time I was at nighttime, and it was worse than that. It had more snow, but there were 2 cars going too slow in my mind. So I decided to pass them. I didn't know the second car was a policeman, a popo. And so I passed him, and then he came around with his red light, cherry on top. I don't know if there was a donut special somewhere, but I eventually pulled over to the right when I felt it was safe for him. And he was sort of peeved. And he said, "What you did was unsafe." And I said, "That's just your opinion." And so we had a little discussion on the side of the road, and no warning, no ticket, no nothing. And then he speeded off unsafely with me right behind him, trying to prove a point. But even at that, yeah, it's wonderful weather like this. Wonderful, wonderful. And so I was critical of textual critics in the previous video, and I'm sure they would have said, "You didn't apply this properly. You took it out of context." Well, you can apply the Bible in multiple ways. And so on this one, I will apply it doctrinally. So we'll look at it doctrinally. But, I just want to go back and kind of review a little bit of this textual criticism. And so remember, it's the technique of restoring text as nearly as possible to the original form. Without seeing the original form, it is the process of attempting to ascertain the original wording of a text without seeing the wording of the text. Zondervan says it is a discipline, both science and an art. An art that might cause a fart, I'm not sure. But even at that, it's a science. In order to be a science, you have to be able to observe. And that's why I say it's a false science, because no one has seen the original wording, and no one has seen the original form, and they do admit that. So I'm going to give you an analogy of this. Here in the 1948 in Chicago, there's a Tucker car. You ever hear of a Tucker car? Tucker 48 car? Okay, and so there's only 51 cars. Too bad it won 66, so it would be a perfect analogy here. And so we have a Tucker car here, and it was kind of going against the status quo. The big 3 didn't kind of like the idea, caused a little trouble with it, I suppose. The big 3. And so it was referred to as the Tucker Torpedo. The Tucker Torpedo. There was even, look at there, even a movie put together about the Tucker car and all the troubles. And so here's Preston Tucker. He was the automobile entrepreneur. And so, okay, if you've never seen a Tucker car, and if you would like to recreate a Tucker car, instead of textual criticism, this would be automobile criticism. And so what these guys, the textual critics over here, the ones that are promoting a false science, and that false science has overthrown their faith, according to 1 Timothy 6. Okay, so the analogy here is if you've never seen the Tucker car, you've never seen the plans of a Tucker car, and so a textual critic is somebody, in this case, who is a car critic, they're going to study the parts on a Ford, a Chevy, a Chrysler. They're going to study the engine in the Ford. They're going to study, the door handles, and the headlights and the grill of the Ford. And then they're going to look at the windshield of the Chevy and the seats of the Chevy, and then the transmission of the Chrysler and the wheels of a Chrysler and, the radio here of a Chrysler. And they're going to look at all those in order to try to recreate, in order to ascertain the original car, the Tucker car, as best they can. How do you think they're going to do? They're going to do about as well as most textual critics are, where they've lost their faith in the words of God. That's why the entire process of textual criticism is subjective. I mean, you could study the Ford, the Chevy, the Chrysler parts all you want, Alexandrian, received text, all blah, 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 all you want. You're never going to build a Tucker 48. Never. And just like these folks who've never seen the originals, which is a violation of science, that's why it's pseudoscience, it's all subjective. And this is why you must yield to these scholars in their subjective opinion of what they think the originals say if they could get them to read them. So that was teaching James from an instructional viewpoint, a principle. Okay, so now let's look at it from a doctrinal viewpoint. Okay, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, giveth all men liberally, upbraideth not, and it shall be given him. But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering, for he that wavereth is like the wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. For let not that man think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Okay, so I applied the double-mindedness to the multiple authorities that the scholars establish. But if we keep reading, we're going to see that the double-mindedness happens to deal with material wealth or the opportunity to live life. And so we have a contrast between the brother of low degree and the rich. And the rich guy is in bad shape. So let the brother of low degree rejoice in that he is exalted. Now, doctrinally, this brother, this Jewish brother of the 12 tribes, who will be living during the last days, will rejoice in the millennium when he is exalted. But the rich, so the contrast, the rich in that he is made low, because as a flower of the grass, he shall pass away. So flower of the grass, like in our culture, that'd be a dandelion. He shall pass away. So the rich guy is in bad shape, kind of like the rich man Lazarus. So he portrays the rich, and Lazarus portrays the poor of the tribulation. Doctrinally, if you look at that doctrinally, that's what is portrayed. For the sun is no sooner risen with a burning heat. Now here we could go with Malachi where it's uppercase S-U-N, son of righteous, referring to the Lord. And he is going to torch the rich. And so the sun is no sooner risen with a burning heat, but it withereth the grass, and the flower thereof falleth, and the grace of the fashion of it perisheth. So also shall the rich man fade away in his ways. So the double-mindedness in this context will be a person of low degree who loses his faith and decides to take the mark and name in order to survive life and possibly, get a little wealth. Okay, so that's doctrinally, I would say that's what the double-mindedness is really aiming at in this context. Okay, now I'll give you a place where we can go. So remember, we need to remember doctrinally, James is writing to the 12 tribes. So this is Jewish. So do we have a Jewish Messiah that warned about struggles in life and wealth and all that stuff, or the lack thereof, and being poor? So this is the Sermon on the Mount, chapter 6. It's the middle of the Sermon on the Mount. And the Lord encourages people to lay up treasures not on earth, lay up treasures in heaven. And then he says, the light of the body is the eye, and therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. And so this is where we, again, as the eye being single instead of double-minded. But if thine eye be evil, thy whole body shall be full of darkness. Okay, so we have the double-minded person. If therefore the light is in thee be darkness, how great is that darkness? And then no man can serve two masters. Okay, so there's where the double-mindedness of James is being applied. For either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. Okay, and so what's mammon mean? That's so hard to understand. And so in this context, here, of course, I do use it practically, as far as the scribes and for the scholars, the textual critics, where I was critical of the textual critics. And so here you can see that, he's talking about them trying to survive in life. Okay, and here again, for all these things do the Gentiles seek. So we know he's talking to Jewish people. And he seek ye first the kingdom of God. Millennium, all these things shall be added unto you in the millennium. Okay, so now back up here. If thine eye be evil. I find it interesting that the evil eye is found 3 times in the Bible. Evil eye, where it's just directly like that. And here, the evil eye is associated with a political figurehead who is very rich, very wealthy, and he hath an evil eye. Okay, and then this, he that hasteth to be rich hath an evil eye. Okay, and then this one of the 13 here, sins that come from out of the heart of man. So the Lord Jesus Christ here is mentioning an evil eye. So you don't want to be, an evil eye is trying to serve 2 masters, and they're double-minded, and they will not prosper. You cannot serve God and mammon. So if you don't know what mammon means, you can go to the 1828, riches, wealth, or the God of riches. Now that's, I find, kind of an interesting statement, the God of riches. And then Mr. Webster had this put there. And if you go to a more modern, up-to-date mammon, wealth regarded as an evil influence or false object of worship and devotion. It was taken by medieval writers as the name of the devil of covetousness. Whoa. Now this evil eye that we see here is connected with a political figurehead, so it's probably working behind the scene, somebody very wealthy, and he hastes to be rich. And so I guess we could look at the back of our Federal Reserve note, commonly called the dollar bill, where you have a pyramid and some one eyeball floating above. Now, some would say that this is an eye of providence, and look at it from a, claiming that it's Christian, that God is overseeing, the nation, one eyeball, but, God's got two eyes. Okay, but even at that, and I don't know if the Lord would want to put his eyes on a fake currency like this, but who is kind of known for an evil eye is Freemasonry. The all-seeing eye, Masonry, the great architect of the universe. Okay, and so, conspiracy theorist. Well, I'm probably more of a conspiracy analyst, but I do need a new conspiracy because most of the ones I believe have come true. But it's kind of America's kind of a conundrum, where you have Christianity and this Masonry or Satanism side by side. And old Benny Franklin, he was kind of a conundrum too. But still, this evil eye, the Illuminati. And are they one and the same? Ooh, you got this kind of dark stuff going on here. But here's a brief history of the Illuminati, founded in 1776. Actually, May 1st, 1776, or early of May. And this here fellow was trying to make America the next Atlantis. That was what their intent was. And but the common people, because great revivals were taking place, wanted America to be more on the Christian realm. And so behind the scenes, these folks have been working, and then the Christians were working in the common people. And the first Bible, do you know what the first Bible that Congress commissioned to print in America? King James Bible. Kind of like the Trump Bible, King James Bible. Now, in Evil Eye, you can kind of see these things in the Hollywood world, this symbolism, where a lot of times these people will cover up one eye, the right eye usually, squint through the left, look through the left eye. But this all-seeing eye, that's what CBS, the Communist Broadcasting System, or the crappy broadcast system, that's their eye, and you'll see that on Google Chrome with the sixes around it. See here, right here it is. You got a 6, 6, 6, and the eye right here in the middle. But you am a conspiracy. Yeah, I am a conspiracy analyst, as Jeremiah was, and as Ezekiel was. But where does this evil eye come in the scriptures? Well, we go to Zechariah 11. We have a foolish shepherd. Okay, and in the context, we have something to do with Judas Iscariot, 30 pieces of silver, and all that stuff, 30 pieces of silver. So he's in the context, and Jesus said, Judas, he told the apostle, Judas, or one of you, is a devil. He spake of Judas Iscariot, so he's a devil. And we have a foolish shepherd and a shepherd here. And he said, woe to the idle shepherd, an idol with all the little statues, that leaveth the flock. The sword shall be upon his arm and his right eye. So it looks like he gets shot in the right eye, and he has a bad right arm. And so when he looks through the right eye, he's given somebody an evil eye, and his arm shall be clean dried up, his right eye shall be utterly darkened. So a parent will give a kid an evil eye, he'll squint the right eye. And so here's the footnote. Historically, this is Judas Iscariot. And so I write plenty of stuff in here on this idea. And I find it kind of interesting. The medical terminology for the left eye is sinister ocular. Sinister, ooh, wow, the evil eye, which results in a common saying for the evil eye. And so an evil eye is given when one squints or closes the right eye and looks sternly through the left eye. And so, of course, it's associated with the New World Order, or odor. Odor, yeah. And sometimes this is where you have, if he's got a bad right hand, it's a left-handed compliment, is a sinister compliment. And so a left-handed person is called a southpaw, a paw, like in the cat and dog family, wolf in sheep's clothing, a catholic. We can go on and on and on about all this stuff, and so take some time with that. So the idea here is a double-minded man is weighing his options. Should I take the mark? Should I take the number in order to be able to operate in the world economy and the riches? And it's kind of interesting, the god of riches or the devil of covetousness. And here is usually one of two places when preachers teach about the devil, is they usually run here, one, Isaiah 14, and here, cherub, the anointed cherub. This is clearly the devil. But notice what's the devil, where he can give riches and wealth. And, I've looked at this idea of Tartarian many, many times, like advanced empires of the past, advanced cultures. More advanced than it is today. You look at these stone structures around the world, and then you look at that evidence, and most people looking at the idea of Tartaria are looking at the utopia of a very prosperous society. But if you look at those stone structures, you're going to see symbolism of fallen angels, dragons, phoenix, gargoyles. And what it seems to me is that the devil will promise wealth and riches, or some very charismatic leader will do that. And notice this is in context with the anointed cherub, Lucifer, merchandise, wealth, merchandise. Okay, thine heart was lifted up because of thy beauty. Okay, and then he says, the multitude of thine iniquities, the iniquity of thy traffic. Oh, the wealth that takes place in drug trafficking or liquor trafficking, or more so in human trafficking. Oh, yes, human trafficking. This will be taking place in the tribulation. And in Joel chapter 3, you'll see that the Jewish people will be trafficked. They've cast lots for my people and have given a boy for harlot, sold a girl for wine. Who in the world is trafficking these people? Well, we'll find it in Revelation chapter 18, where the evil eye's religious affiliation will show up. And this is Babylon, Mystery the Great. Notice how rich they are. Gold, silver, precious stones, pearls, linen. Look at all that. Look at all that. Cinnamon, odors, ointments. Look at all that. And slaves and souls of men. See, the merchants of these things which were made rich. Yep, that's what's going on. And it appears to me what has happened in the past is these societies are extremely advanced. That's quite clear. More so than today. But yet people are enjoying the prosperity. And behind the scenes, the political figureheads will be doing their dastardly deeds in their conspiracies and trafficking in people and in sacrifices. And when they feel confident enough to bring it out in the open, and they basically tell people that the reason why you have this prosperity is because of us, me, the great leader, and I demand now a sacrifice. Are you as a society willing to give me my bloodthirst of a sacrifice that I've been hiding from you for quite a while? And so will you allow us to do this publicly? And when society gives into that, I do believe that's when the Lord steps in and brings a mud flood. He brings a nuclear attack and melts societies into stone. He blows the whole place off the map like he did Sodom and Gomorrah. And so the idea of this double-mindedness, I would say, if we keep it within its doctrinal footing of the 12 tribes, and these 12 tribes living in the last days, or in the Great Tribulation, where he's encouraged them, don't be double-minded. Don't look at the rich. They're going to get it. They're going to get it, and eventually, and you're going to be exalted. Rejoice. Let the brother of low degree rejoice in that he is exalted. You'll be exalted when the Lord Jesus Christ comes back. And so doctrinally, that's what I believe that what this is aiming at as far as a faithful interpretation of this passage.